It's right up my street, it's my boulevard. It's right up my Straza, oh my God. It's garden right up there, ah, it's right up my podcast.
Ooh. Welcome to Right Up My Podcast. My name's Kate White.
And my name's Gwen Watson. And this is the podcast in which we talk to ultra awesome people about the totally brilliant ways that they have to make us all feel good.
And this is episode 28, where we are going to be talking about burnout.
And how to avoid it.
And how to avoid it.
Not how to get it.
Yeah, exactly. If you want burnout, you're in the right place. We are talking to Bex Spiller, who is the founder of the Anti-Burnout Club, and she shares her immense amount of experience and wisdom when it comes to burnout. So stay with us.
Don't go anywhere. Not yet. We've only been here a minute. Don't leave us yet.
Hang around for a little bit longer.
This is actually our second interview from the Big Retreat Festival in La Rennie.
Yes, it is. One of our live bunch.
Yes. Now, we banged on about the festival probably quite enough last episode.
I think so. I think so. We'll let this one speak for itself. But we happen to be recording this at a quieter moment during the festival, so you don't have to contend with quite so much background fun and entertainment in this one.
Although I love a bit of background fun and entertainment. And I think when we go back to our normal interviews, I think that's going to be missing. I may have to add in a cheering track or some crying children.
Or just
quite a lot of screaming children.
A laughter yoga session going on in the background.
Yes, more background laughter yoga, please. Every day.
Won't be the same without it. But anyway, Gwen, how have you been? You've been to another festival since we last spoke.
I know. Can you actually Adam and Eve it? Since we last spoke, I've been to another festival.
Oh
this time, it's Unearthed Festival, which is brilliant, and it's in West Wales, also in Pembrokeshire, near St David's, and which a lot of people will have heard of because is it the smallest city in the world? No,
I think so.
Definitely the smallest city in the UK, isn't it?
It's small. We'll give it that.
It's small and it's a city.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I was going to take my bike there to be repaired one day. Like, it's smaller than the town I live in, pretty much. And he was like, the shop's located near the city centre, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, that's so weird that you refer to the town centre, like that roundabout near the pub. You refer to that as the city
only
centre.
Roundabout. Yeah. People who live in St David's are going to be listening to this go, come on, it's a bona fide city. We got a cathedral, God damn it. What more do you want from us?
Yeah, we built that cathedral.
We've earned our city title.
With blood and sweat, yeah. Anyway, so I went to another festival, and this time was not there with the podcast, but I was there with a little cabaret troupe, a couple of friends of mine, Maya and Siobhan. We are MSG, and for the festival, we were Marjorie, Sybil and Gertrude.
Of course
who
you
had turned up. We were judging the large vegetable competition, and we were trying to find the horticultural tent.
So I'm thinking lots of crude jokes about melons, marrows, and other phallic-shaped veg. Am I right?
Oh, my God. So many bulbous tips of cucumbers and surprisingly good girths of celery that we're imagining smothered in cream cheese.
Oh,
excuse me, sir, is that a large aubergine in your pocket? You must be on your way to the large vegetable competition, etc., etc., etc.
See, this is my level of humour. I am much more comfortable in this realm than I am in political satire or other such highbrow. Give me a pendulous courgette any day and I'm a happy girl.
Oh, you would have loved it in that case, Kate. You would have been absolutely... No, lots of people absolutely loved it. Some people just looked horrified. I think overall, absolute success.
So you were just wandering the site, spreading your mucky form of filthy humour?
Yeah,
Willy and
that's pretty much
nilly.
it. Yeah. Dressed as, well, as you can imagine, vegetable judges would be dressed, called Gertrude, Marjorie and Sybil. And but we'd made these amazing hats. And actually, we said last episode we were going to put a photo of this on our Patreon, so we'll do. So, yeah, we created these hats. If you can imagine, we raided a load of charity shops. We got all of their fake flowers, fake vegetables. Mine had a flamingo on. My friends had, one of them had a watering can. The other one had a teapot. Mine was about 2 foot tall in the end.
Could you actually get into any of the tents, or did you
I was practically doing the limbo to get into the marquees.
And the magic teapot was there again.
Yes, so did we talk about this before?
I can't remember.
Because we do the Patreon and the podcast, we're getting to the point now where we can't remember what we've said on what. But yeah, the magic teapot was once again absolute highlight. And when we went to Big Retreat, I didn't manage to. We didn't do any of the late nights there.
Didn't even realise, because it was the sound was so kind of contained in it. Didn't even hear that there was stuff going on there.
Yes, we should probably explain what it is, just in case we haven't before.
Yeah.
This is Kate and I sat in the magic teapot. Kate, can you describe the magic teapot, please?
If it's possible. This is like being in the cosiest little retreat ever. It's a wooden-sided, covered little area with a roaring fire in the middle, pots of tea being made for everyone, and this 3-piece kind of skiffle band, double bass, banjo. I can't see the third guy. What's he playing?
Something else with strings.
Something with strings.
I'm going for guitar.
And yeah, it's cold and windy outside, and I've genuinely never been happier than I am right now.
We're feeling slightly damp after the downpour yesterday, and we've done an interview out in the wind this morning, and this is just heavenly.
It's gorgeous.
We're sat here with a peppermint tea. Everybody around us has a similar look on their face of just pure happiness.
Yeah, bliss is the word that comes to mind.
And during the festival, they've had different things going on in here, haven't they? Like I heard that after Top Loader the other night, people were in here singing until about midnight.
Oh, that's fun. And I think people come and go, play the instruments as a band, but I've been in here when, random members of the public are coming up and playing the piano, and they're really good as well. It's wonderful sharing it all.
It's called the Magic Teapot, and I tell you what, it feels very magic.
You pay what you want for your cuppa. You can use one of their mugs, return it for a deposit.
You can bring your own. Can I just say, I love the look of these guys.
I know.
They look like they're from, Appalachian America.
Definitely got that vibe, particularly with the banjo.
Yes.
The banjo player is wearing a bowler hat. The double bass has got a deer stalker on.
They're kind of hipsters mixed with deliverance.
Yes. Yes. Oh, God. It took a dark turn there. And they look like they're having a good time. Yeah. Yay!
So much fun.
So much fun. I love it. Can I just apologise, Gwen? I've just realised that the Zoom camera is like you're having a Zoom with your granny. It's slumped down and is pointing at my cleavage. So
that's nothing like Zooms with my granny. Don't usually get to... Hey, don't move it.
No, you're enjoying the view.
At all.
Need a magnifying glass.
Got to have some perks here in the job.
That's how we get our kicks right on my podcast.
So I have to say, ever since I've just been enjoying the sunshine and just missing being in a festival.
Oh, my God. Well, talking of festivals, I got the train back from London yesterday, and it was absolutely ram-packed. London back to Bristol, stopping at Bath on the way, ram-packed with Glastonbury revellers on their way. It felt like a party train. It was brilliant. Some of those people have brought literally everything and the kitchen sink. There was this one girl, enormous rucksack. She had a proper camping bed with legs and a frame and everything. And she had a camping chair. She had a gazebo, and she was carrying all of this stuff. Hats off to her. I hope she made it there in one piece.
Oh my God! Has she ever been to Glastonbury before? Does she know how much of a walk she's now got when she gets to the site?
I did wonder this. And will any of that survive the next 3 days, or will it all be ditched there?
Will she be bringing any of it back? Do you know what? Watching Kenny Rogers on a Sunday was one of my highlights of my life.
Such joy. Yeah.
Give us a Glastonbury tale, Kate. Have you got a favourite memory of yours?
Probably watching David Bowie. That was an all-time life
the year
high.
2000.
It was incredible. Yeah.
Nice.
It was amazing. That was definitely a highlight.
I was definitely there that year, and I feel like I saw him.
Yes.
But I think we
Gwen?
bought some cookies from somebody on the way, and I think we had to leave. So I have no memory
of David Bowie.
But I feel like there's a good chance I hopefully saw him.
But hopefully somewhere in your psyche there will be a hidden memory of David Bowie that's just not been accessed.
I've always believed that I saw him, but, maybe sometimes belief is enough.
That's enough. Have faith.
And what else, Kate? What else? Seeing as we can't be at Glastonbury.
I know.
What else have you been up to?
Oh, my goodness. I've been getting heavily into Stranger Things on Netflix. However, I want to get your opinion here. I think it's way scarier. Okay, so people who aren't watching Stranger Things, it's a kind of sci-fi horror type thing with a kind of hideous creature from another realm.
Demogorgon or something. It's like Dungeons and Dragons come to life, is it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And in previous series, they've just really teased the scary thing. So you get a glimpse, you get a creak, you get a shadow, you get a sort of a hint of the scary thing. But it takes a while for you to get a full seeing the whites of its eyes moment.
Yes.
Where in this series, right from episode 1, boom, here's a scary thing, literally within the first couple of minutes, which takes away the fear factor, I think. I think it's way scarier if you just get an idea that something terrifying's happening rather than it just being shoved in your face in all its glory.
Yes. Like a bit like Columbo, where you knew who'd done it from the start. That was how Columbo was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember anything
Murder,
but
She
his
Wrote. One of
flasher
them.
mag and his cigar. That's my only memory of Columbo.
I remember being like, where's the element of surprise now?
Yeah.
The other thing I've noticed is that all the kids are no longer kids. They are full-grown adults pretending to still be teenagers. Is that working?
They're clearly in their 20s, exactly. And then they come up with this dialogue.
They've done a Harry Potter.
Yeah, they come with this dialogue. It's like, why are you talking like a kid? Oh, you're acting. I get it.
We're not so convinced anymore.
No, there's definitely puberty has been reached and is now a distant memory for most of them.
Hey, if you want to watch something completely different, where no demogorgons or whatever they're called are present, it is Hacks on Prime. Now,
okay.
I don't know if you've got Prime.
I don't have it, but tell me all.
I had a friend come to stay because I don't like to suck on Bezos's tit, as I've mentioned before. But I had a friend come to stay, and he logged into his Prime account. How else do I get all this speedy delivery to my house? But I had a friend come to stay who logged in on my TV, so we haven't unlogged yet. So anyway, Hacks on Prime is absolutely brilliant. I wrote down some notes here. It's about basically a kind of. It's an American comedy drama starring Jean Smart and Hannah Enbinder, who I'd never heard of before. But basically...
Should I know who Jean Smart is?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I hadn't heard of her either. Is that terrible? But she's... but
I
some people do.
She was a he. I'm thinking Gene Hackman type of Gene.
No. You see, this is all female-led.
Oh.
And it's about a female comedian who's basically maybe on the edge of her prime. She's done a long-term residency in Vegas, and the venue are trying to drop her, and her agent brings in this young, hip comedy writer from New York who is just... her career's been dented because she tweeted something. She's been kind of cancelled. So he's trying to fix both of their careers by marrying them together.
Yeah.
So neither of them want this marriage to start with. And then the relationship develops. But it's so original. It's so fresh. It's so funny. Both the women are absolutely bloody tremendous. There's now 2 seasons out. I've did the second season in a matter of days. A friend was saying he's so sad it's over. He's going to have to start rewatching it all from the start again. It's an 8.2 on IMDb. I went over and gave it a bloody 9 out of 10. That's how much I loved it.
Look at you swinging it the other way. This sounds good, though. This sounds really good.
It's really good.
Can your friend come and stay with me now, please, so I can steal his login details? You've had your ride. It's my turn.
Absolutely. I'll introduce you. He's called
Marvellous.
Dean.
We've got a spare
I'm sure
room.
he'll get on really well with your family.
Pop on over, Dean. My kids are going to love you.
It's right up my podcast.
Now, just a reminder about our Patreon page. This is where we put our extras from our episodes and where we put all our jingles, and also where Kate and I do a little bit of extra wiffle waffle just for your delectation.
Now, we don't rely on advertising in order to fund the production of Right Up My Podcast, but we do have a Patreon page where we would love it if you could go over, and if you can donate the cost of a cup of coffee once a month, that would just help to cover the time and the costs that Gwen and I spend in putting these episodes together, cover the time of our talented team who help us out and help us keep producing episodes of Right Up My Podcast with fabulous guests that we know you'd love to listen to.
If you'd like to become one of our supporters, head on over to patreon.com/Right Up My Podcast. So this is episode 28, all about burnout.
We talked to Bex Spiller, who founded the Anti-Burnout Club, which brings together a whole range of experts providing professional support and resources to manage stress and burnout. And I also wanted to mention that they're a certified social enterprise, which means they provide their services to the NHS, to teachers, to charity workers and to those on low income, because it's really important to them to ensure that what they do is accessible to everyone. And I think that's a really applaudable thing, because it can be really expensive. It can be such a barrier to people. The financial aspect of trying to pay for regular counselling or therapy and so on. So anyway, we started our chat with Bex by asking her, what is burnout?
So burnout is chronic stress, effectively, and it generally comes from work, but we've seen this seeping into home life now, especially with people working from home and having to juggle everything at home. It can also be caused by things like financial stress. So obviously, as people are struggling financially, we can see burnout seeping into home life as well. So it's when you get chronically stressed and you're unable to manage it. So it's that feeling of overwhelm, really. You know, this is too overwhelming. I cannot do this. It can create feelings of detachment. So you just think, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know what to do, and you kind of shut off, you switch off. And we tend to then turn to things that numb us. So scrolling on Instagram or binge watching Netflix, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's
Are we burnt out? Is that what's happening?
God, I'm having a deep, hard look at myself at this moment.
Every time I say that, as well, people go, oh, that's me.
I'm just thinking most of our listeners are now just going, hands up. Oh, that's what we're doing.
Okay.
We're numbing.
But yeah, it does. You want to numb because it's hard to get on top of things. You know, when it feels like everything is too much, it's like, do you know what? I'm just going to sit there and scroll. I'm just going to switch off because I don't have the strength or the energy to actually do the things that I need to do. And again, it just becomes overwhelming.
Do you know what? I think this has just suddenly clicked a bit for me, because when I've heard the word burnout, I thought, oh, burnout, God, that sounds so extreme. Yeah. Like you must end up paralysed or unable to get out of bed, or you've had a full breakdown. Yeah. But it's not quite that, is it? It's more insidious. It's more that just, I know that feeling of overwhelm and that feeling of actually, and I get that, where I just want to spend today in bed.
Yeah.
Or you know, whether you do or not, but it's those, So it's more that just you'll feel like everything just feels too much.
Yeah, and it creeps in. So I had no idea that, one, I could experience burnout I must have been 25, 26 when it happened to me. And two, that I thought it was very much, like a stockbroker thing, like, oh,
yes,
I'm this like CEO, like suited and booted, and I work in London and that's kind of what the image is.
Totally.
And actually it's not that at all. And yes, those people are very stressed, but the people that we tend to see are generally women. They're generally, they've got children and they're trying to work. They work in high pressure environments or environments where they care for other people. So, in the NHS, schools, carers, all of that kind of thing. And they're trying to do it all, but it's really, really hard. And society tells us you have to do it all. You know, Instagram's like, oh, well, I'm juggling 3 kids and a job and this. And that creates that feeling of I'm not good enough. And if I'm doing it wrong, you know, then what's wrong with me? And that's also part of burnout, that we have this real negative self-talk. What's wrong with me? Not what's wrong with the pressure on me to be able to do this all, but what's wrong with me and why can't I do it all?
Would you mind telling us a bit about your own experience with burnout?
Yeah, of course. So, like I said, I had no idea that this is what I was going through, but I became really detached. I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I was going to work, working 12-hour days and thinking, this is success, you know, this is what I should be doing. And actually, my dad had passed away, and I was throwing myself into work in this really kind of unhealthy way, and it created that feeling of detachment and loneliness and not wanting to see or talk to anyone and not do anything but work. And I started to get kind of what I call the hidden warning signs, all of these different things that I didn't realise were burnout. So, for example, I was picking up every single cold, flu, stomach bug, everything off people. Right. And that's because chronic stress can impact your immune system. And so your immune system's weakened. You're picking up, my staff members were giving me all of their colds and everything. Again, that feeling of being overwhelmed and like I wasn't good enough, constantly dropping the ball, so making silly mistakes that I just never would have made before, that I just, you know, was like, why can't I do this? And that creates that cycle of, I'm not good enough, what's wrong with me? And it just got worse and worse and worse. And eventually I was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And I went to the doctors and I had blood tests. My blood pressure was through the roof for someone in their mid-20s. You know, it was like, oh my goodness. And my dad had died of a heart attack at 60. And his dad had died of a heart attack at 60. And I thought, this is exactly where I'm going. You know, I am creating a rod for my own back here. My dad ran his own business. His dad was very, you know, business minded. And I thought, I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm continuing this cycle on. And yeah, the doctors explained that my cortisol levels are really high, which is the stress hormone. Back when I was experiencing this, it wasn't really talked about a lot, burnout. So this would have been 2015, 2016 when it started, and I kind of went through a few years of trying to process it all. Burnout wasn't really spoken about. It wasn't a big thing. It's only recently that I think it was 2019 that the World Health Organization said, oh, by the way, this is a thing. Right. And so that's why it's become more spoken about. But I didn't really know what to do about it, and that's what led to me trying lots of different things. But I still didn't deal with the root cause of the stress until 2020 when I shut down my business, because that was the root cause of my stress. And I loved it. You know, I'd grown it from a tiny little freelance business at the bottom of my bed into a huge office with staff, international clients. You know, it was this.
What was your business?
It was a content marketing agency.
Really? What was it called?
GG Media.
Wow,
so
well
yeah,
done you.
it was.
Well,
you know,
isn't that interesting? I said well done you, but actually, why am I saying well done?
Yeah, we're praising this what looks like success, but deep down, I was really struggling, and I had all these staff to manage, and I was just constantly overwhelmed. And in 2020, with the pandemic, I sort of set up this little blog, the Anti-Burnout Club, to kind of talk about it. And it really took off quite quickly, and I thought, well, I don't just want to talk about it, I want to help people with it. And so in September 2020 I closed down the content agency, which was really hard because, you know, I had staff, I had an office, I had all of this stuff, and I thought that was what success looked like. And so to say, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm going back to square one and effectively making myself unsuccessful and poor, very poor now.
There is that, yeah.
You know, and that was kind of like a big thing. And I grieved. I really did properly grieve for closing down that business. And there are a few weeks in bed like, I've made the worst decision of my life. What have I done? But yeah, then we launched the actual platform in January 2021. And now I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the best thing I've ever done. I found my thing and I found my people. And yeah, and the stress, yes, it's hard work. Yes, I'm poor and I'm not really making any money out of it, but the stress is gone. And that was the thing that I needed to deal with, was, you know, finding what lit me up and then going down that road.
Now, you mentioned that this kind of came to a head in 2020. Now, I know we don't want to go back to those dark days, but the words 2020 are always going to invoke something in our hearts and souls, aren't they? But that sense of overwhelm, that collective trauma that we all went through, and for a lot of us, our lives were upended. And I really found personally, and I know a lot of people felt the same, that I was getting overwhelmed by much less than I, you know, in normal life. And I don't feel actually that I'm back to normal. Like, I used to be able to pack my days and I'd be going to appointments or going to meetings or going to see a show in the evening. And now if I'm doing more than like 2 things, I'm like, oh my God, there's such a lot of stuff. And I call it my Sex and the City day, don't I? I've had a Sex and the City day. I feel like it's a major achievement. I probably then need to spend the next 3 evenings lying on my couch. But do you think that that kind of feeling of overwhelm is more universal now, although a lot more people are experiencing or have experienced it due to the pandemic?
Yeah, I think so. I think because we've all taken our work home, right? Or the majority of us have taken our work home, and those that couldn't take their work home saw their workloads increase because they were working in hospitals or in schools with less staff and all of that kind of stuff. So I think collectively overwhelm has got a lot worse, and we've seen it as the Anti-Burnout Club has grown, that more and more people are coming in just straight away saying, I'm so overwhelmed, help, like, what do I do? And it's the same thing, you know, I used to be able to do all of this, I used to be able to pack my days in, and now it's sometimes a struggle to get up and brush my hair in the morning. I haven't even brushed my hair this morning.
As you said that, I realised I haven't brushed my teeth today. So.
But it does,
it
it becomes a struggle to sometimes even do the basic things, you know, and of course, you know, that can be attributed to lots of different things. A lot of us experience that collective trauma, and there is a lot going on underneath. But also, when we're burnt out, just looking after ourselves and just doing the basics becomes really difficult, you know, because it becomes just another thing that I have to add to my to-do list when that to-do list is already 400 pages long, or it feels like it's that long.
So, for people who feel like they're in this position but feel like also they can't leave their jobs, what do they do?
I don't think you have to leave your job. I think leaving your job, like for me, that was quite an extreme change. I think there's lots and lots of different things that we can do to get to the root cause of it. So I preach to everyone therapy. Everyone needs therapy at some point in their life. CBT 100%. Therapy, any kind of therapy to unravel what is going on. Why do I feel like I have to take on this much at work? Is it a boundaries issue? Is it a people-pleasing issue? Is it, we have a great lesson on something called conditions of worth. Is it what I think people expect of me and what other people's definition of success is? So I think understanding that is really, really important. You know, why am I pushing myself? Why can't I say no at work? Because that's a big thing, you know, is the people pleasing and the setting the boundaries. A lot of us we get stuck in this people pleasing. Okay, yes, I'll do that. Yeah, okay, of course. I don't mind helping you out. And I found that the people that I've met who do have those boundaries are probably the least stressed people that I've met, because they're like, I'm not taking on any more than I can handle, and tough, you know. So I don't think necessarily that you kind of have to shut your business down or leave work. If it is a big problem at work that's like a workplace culture issue, then send me round and I'll have a chat with the boss.
Okay, right. So you do that. You go in. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think that it's so important. Workplaces, you know, they'll give their staff a meditation app. Or, you know, say, oh, we're going to do yoga at lunchtime today. And it's really a sticking plaster to a much bigger issue. So I don't mind telling bosses off.
Brilliant. Sometimes that's helpful to have an outside person come and do that.
Yeah, I think so, because, you know, when I ran my business, I thought that I was doing a really good job. But I can see looking back, you know, I gave people duvet days. But again, it was still just a sticking plaster to the issue. And that's the workplace culture that comes from the top. Are you pushing people too hard? What are the expectations? Can people not say no? And if you've created that kind of culture, then you're going to lose people to sickness and burnout. So, yeah.
And employers have got to be more interested in wanting to retain staff at the moment, haven't they? Because I think there's a real problem with it at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, it's a candidates market, isn't it? Everyone's changing jobs and all sorts. And a meditation app is not going to solve that issue. You know, that company perk is like, yeah, great, I can get that free with my Spotify or whatever. So it's really about thinking, how can I create an environment that people flourish and they're not, putting themselves in a dangerous position, because burnout is dangerous. We know that stress kills, and it is a dangerous thing on our bodies. So how can I create an environment that people don't want to leave, and they don't have to make that big decision that the only way I'm going to get out of burnout is to quit my job and go travelling around the world, buy a van, go put a mattress in the back and disappear, because I think that's what a lot of people are getting to at this point. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to live to work. So
or the classic, give up the city job and start selling organic veg in West Wales.
Yes. You meet a lot of them.
Yeah. I can name a few.
Oh, would you like to come over to my house? Yes, we can do that now, can't we? I'll make you tea.
You used the phrase earlier, conditions of worth. So by that, what do you mean by that phrase?
So conditions of worth, this was something that one of the therapists at the Anti-Burnout Club taught us. And this is, what have you learned from your parents or your teachers or the people of influence growing up is what makes you worthy, right? So what have they instilled into you as you grew up that makes you think this is what my worth is, and we did this during so we do different themes every month, and this was one called Overcoming Overwhelm, and it was why are you adding all of this onto your plate? Is it because your parents' definition of success was this, or your teacher taught you this, or it might even not necessarily be childhood, it might be as you're an adult, perhaps an old boss or something. What have they instilled in you that makes you think that this is what worth is or what success is? And when you start unravelling that, it's real kind of light bulb moments. Like, I'm a perfectionist. I like to have everything perfect. When I do my lessons for the Anti-Burnout Club, I used to refilm them like 20 times until everything was perfect. And when I did that lesson, I thought, oh, I know where this has come from. I saw my dad running a successful business and how everything for him seemed perfect. And I'm trying to emulate that because that's what I think my worth is based on. And once you start to unpick that, you're like, oh, I don't need that. That's not, that's not my journey. That's not what I need in my life. And my husband, Jake, who you met,
who bought us coffees, by the way. We like your husband, Jake.
He's going through the same thing. He runs his own business. He has a successful business. He's building it up, and he's going through that same thing of, well, what is my worth based on? And what is success to me? We went on holiday recently, and he said, should we just move out here? Where it's a slower way of life and all of that kind of stuff. And that is it, isn't it? It's finding that thing that's like, actually, my worth is based on more than my job title, or that I can keep my house tidy when I've got 3 kids running around, or whatever else. What is your worth based on?
Yeah, I love that. And I also loved what you were talking about, boundaries, and how difficult, because we're people pleasers from way back, Kate and I. So
I'm people pleaser in recovery, I like to call myself.
Good for you. And actually, like you were saying that your burnout was in your 20s, and I was thinking about my places that I worked in my 20s, and it probably comes from that place of like being really polite or having to do a really good job. And there was like 2 consecutive workplaces that I was in that when I left, they had to get 2 people to replace my role.
Really?
Yeah, because
Wow.
I worked so hard.
Wow.
I remember like getting RSI because I was like just like trying to enter all the admin. I've got to get this all done whilst being the receptionist, whilst doing this, you know.
Whilst making tea for everybody.
Yeah, and there was 2 job places where they literally had to get 2 people to replace me, and I was like, now do you appreciate me? I always have this thing like, now do they realise how hard I was working?
Am I good enough now?
Yeah.
Wow.
But actually, yes, but that's prime time to actually teach people, isn't it?
Yeah.
That to actually be able to say no because we don't think we can.
And it's easier to prevent than cure, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, a lot of what we do at the Anti-Burnout Club is prevention. So we always say if you're at the point of extreme burnout, doctor, therapist, go down that route. You know, the lessons that we teach are great for preventing burnout. And it is things like setting those boundaries, saying no. You know, that's it. It's just a no. You don't have to explain yourself. And we are all very polite. We do see more people pleasing in women. That's a very common thing. And the expectations on us seems to be higher because we kind of have to do a little bit of everything. And so we don't want to let anyone down, and we don't want to say, I can't do that, because we can do it, but we just don't have the time, you know. I can't do it right now. Yeah. And finding that sweet spot of saying no, but still, I don't think it necessarily means that we have to be completely like mean and nasty and no to everything and everyone, but it is finding that kind of balance.
I always really admire it when I meet people who are good at that. I'm just like, oh, that's so refreshing that you just said no. That felt
that doesn't fit for me.
No.
That doesn't work for me. I hear that.
I can't do that.
I can't do that.
I always feel empowered myself when I hear other people being like that. I'm like, okay, oh yeah, of course, I could do that too. Why don't I?
Because I think the no word's quite hard, isn't it? But
Yes.
there are other phrases that you can use, aren't there?
I can't do that
that
right
mean
now.
the same thing.
Going back to what Gwen said before about when she was in her 20s and basically doing 2 people's jobs, do you feel there are any big cultural changes that are needed to stop that even happening in the first place?
Yeah, I think as a community, as a whole, we all need to really relook at our definition of success. And I was really sucked into hustle culture. So I don't know if you know Gary Vee, like these people that do like Facebook videos that are like, if you're watching Netflix, you're not getting anything done, you're going to be a failure. And I'm like, okay, turn off Netflix, like typing away. I'm going to work harder, Gary.
Sorry, Gary.
But I was really enjoying Russian Doll.
But have you heard how she speaks?
And just like really got sucked into that, and I see it still a lot on Instagram. There is a change coming, you know. But it is, what do we measure our success by? And even if it's not hustle culture, it's the lifestyle that people show us in their Instagram photos or whatever that makes us think, well, I need to make a ton of money, I need to work really, really hard, and then I'll have happiness. And that's the problem is the people that have got all of those things are then kind of, they've got upward comparisons as well, and they go, I need to make more money, and I need the private jet, and I need that next level. And so this constant strive for more, I need to push, that, you know, that's what's making us stressed, because we haven't found our happy. We haven't found what makes us happy. It's very much keeping up with the Joneses, you know, of I need the next thing or the next best thing, and I need to be constantly pushing for that, or I'm not successful. So if we kind of change that of find your thing, you know, I love the motto here, which is find your feel good. You know, find what makes you feel good, and then that's what you aim for. You know, it doesn't have to be being able to jet off on holidays 4 times a year. If that's not what makes you feel good, maybe it's coming to a rainy field in Wales and doing some yoga and connecting with yourself, you know. So it's find what feels good for you and strive for that.
What makes you feel good?
Oh, lots of things. Helping other people, you know, doing the Anti-Burnout Club. I talk about something called so the VIA Institute has this character strengths test,
What's
right?
the VIA Institute? Sorry,
I can't remember what
Sure,
it stands
don't
for.
Google it.
Yeah, it's positive psychology based. So they say that everyone has these character strengths, and find yours and then work towards using them all of the time, because that makes you feel happier than focusing on your weaknesses and trying to improve those. So when I did this test, I realised that my top 5 strengths I use running the Anti-Burnout Club every day, and I was like, this is why I feel so happy. Right. So it's things like, mine is love of learning. I love learning new things, and perspective. I love then giving people a different perspective and sharing what I've learned with people, which is what I do at the Anti-Burnout Club. So I think that for me, it's being able to learn and then teach, and that's what lights me up, and that's why I love what I do. And when I'm then having a bad day, or I'm thinking like, oh, this is overwhelming, I don't want to do this, I'm stressed, it makes it so much easier to just kind of get out of bed and be like, oh, well, maybe I'll just read a book of something that I could then, help other people with later down the line. So it's knowing what lights you up, knowing what makes you feel good and what you're good at, as opposed to your weaknesses, and then using those. And it genuinely has made a complete difference to my life, being able to focus on my strengths.
Amazing. And so you're not trying to fit yourself, your round body, into a square hole as well, because I think that's what a lot of us do. We see like people really thriving with the Pomodoro technique, or plotting their week on a Sunday night, and we're like,
love the Pomodoro.
I love a Pomodoro. I preach the Pomodoro.
Pomodoro. But yeah, and I really like, I've got friends who plot the whole week on a Sunday night, and they've got it literally drawn out in blocks, and I've done it like at least 2 weeks in a row, and by about Tuesday tea time it's all gone out the window, and I'm like, I'm such a failure. But yeah, but that really sounds interesting to me, to actually like, okay, well, what does work for me, and let's go with that.
Yeah.
Remind me what this online quiz is. I fancy doing this.
It's the VIA Institute, and it's free. Don't pay for any of the.
Okay.
They try and sell you like upgrades. No, don't need to do that. And it's preached a lot by positive psychologists. And yeah, it's by focusing on our strengths, it makes us less stressed. It builds our confidence. It's really good for things like resilience, which again can help with stress. So absolutely, take the test. Everyone I tell about it then goes on their phones afterwards. It's like, yeah, what's my strengths?
Yes. Brilliant. I'm definitely going to do that. Yeah.
Now, we've been talking about and around the Burnout Club. So if somebody wants to come and be a member, is it like, how does one, do you have membership, or do people just come on your website? How does it work?
Yeah, so people just come on our website, theantiburnoutclub.com, and we have membership, which is $9.99 a month. So we try and keep the price point really, really low, and that's access to everything. So all of the courses, the classes, nutritionist, therapists, like all of that kind of stuff in one. And then we have our subsidised membership. So this is our social enterprise aspect. So we have a subsidised membership, which is $2.99 a month, which is for anyone that wants to apply for it. So if you're struggling financially, or if you work for the NHS or whatever, you don't have to give a reason. We don't ask you to give any reason. We just have the subsidised membership open for anyone that wants it.
Okay.
And then once they're on the website, so you're saying you've got access to nutritionists and therapists, and actually, so what does that look like? So are you reading, are you watching, are you having one-to-ones?
So it's all kind of video-based courses and classes, and we do workbooks and all of that kind of stuff as well for people that prefer to read it. Sometimes we do audio, and then we've got things like meditation, which is audio as well. So yeah, we started with a couple of teachers, or what we call experts, doing yoga and stuff like that. And I think over the last 18 months, we've had about 25, 30 guest experts come in, and they'll next month we're doing Summer of Self-Love, for 2 months. We've got all of these guest experts coming in, and they'll talk about all sorts. So, we've got someone who'll be talking about dressing for confidence and feeling good in your own body. We've got people talking about body neutrality, people talking about boundaries and people pleasing. That's one that's coming up. And so we do these themes, and people can then get involved with the themes. And it's a bit like, I don't know, coming to a festival and going to see lots of of talks or whatever else. And then there's all the lessons and stuff on the platform. So you can just go in and go, I want to do some yoga today, or I want to meditate today, or I want to learn about nutrition in the menopause, or whatever else. So then we have all of that people can kind of take their own journey with it as well.
So it's really aimed at everyone, whether you're working in a solo outfit, whether you're working as a sort of a cog in a bigger wheel, or whether you're the CEO of an enormous thing. There's something on there for every different type of life experience via burnout that you might be having.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it goes back to that find what feels good. Like here, I'm so gutted they've got that as their slogan, because I now want it as ours. Because because I think that, like you said, different things work for different people, and scheduling your week might not work. You might like to take a more relaxed approach, and you'd like this kind of lesson or this kind of thing. So there's a lot of well-being things out there that will focus on just meditation or just yoga or a little bit. But we try and do it so that you can find whatever it is that you like and then do more of that, because we talk a lot about physical movement, for example, is good for stress. But if I said to Jake, we're going to go to the gym 4 times a week, he'd be like, when do you expect us to do that? I don't enjoy doing that. That's more stress. So we're like, find what works for you. And we've got like dance classes and, all of that kind of stuff. So find what lights you up and then do more of that always. The one thing that I would say as well is that I don't think you truly fully get out of stress cycle. Like, we can't get out of it. We need it at least a little bit. If we didn't have any stress, then we wouldn't try for anything.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Is it possible, should we be wanting to eliminate all stress from our lives?
No, we need good stress. We definitely need good stress. The apprehension that I've got before doing my talk means that hopefully I'll give a good talk because I get prepared. I need that stress to drive me. If I didn't, then I would probably just rock up on stage and be like, oh yeah, something about burnout, whatever, I don't care. Yeah, rest and digest. So you need that little bit of stress. You do need it before job interviews. It's what helps us excel in things. Same with anxiety. If we didn't have a bit of fear in our bodies, we'd all just cross the roads without looking. So you need a little bit of good stress. But it's when you have that chronic bad stress and it's not managed, that's when it becomes, dangerous.
Why don't we all give this thing a try? I'll tell you why we just can't miss this opportunity. Well, that don't rhyme. Let's have some fun, let loose and be free. Yes, why don't we give this thing a try?
So, as you know, we like to try out all the things that our guests tell us about, and we like to invite you to do the same too. So we asked Bex to set us a challenge.
I would say do the character strengths thing that I told you about. So take the quiz, pick your top 5. It will show you what your top 5 are. And then for a week, focus every day on one of those things. So if it's kindness, go and do something really kind for someone. If it's humour, go tell some jokes, or whatever. So find your top 5 and then every day focus a little bit on that and see how it makes you feel at the end of the week. If you feel happier that you're focusing on your strengths and not constantly focusing on your weaknesses. And you might discover that you find something new that you love, or it gives you an idea of something else you could be doing or whatever. So yeah, focusing on your strengths.
I like those.
And once again, that website?
VIA Institute.
Thank you so much to Bex for that really fascinating talk. And to find out more about the Anti-Burnout Club, head over to theantiburnouttclub.com, where as well as their full range of services and resources, you can also make the most of the free workshop and anti-burnout plan that you can find on there. So thank you, Bex.
She was really good, wasn't she?
She was really good. Yes. So we did her task that she set us, didn't she? We went onto the VIA website and did the character challenges, not character challenges. What was
Character
it called?
strength profile. Now, this was actually a 96 question survey. And what I found about this is I find it very difficult to be super, super honest with these things and not be aspirational me.
It's very true, because often the reflex answer is the thing that you would like to be,
yes.
or the thing that sometimes you even pretend to yourself that you are.
Yes.
And it's having that reality check of like, I know I tell people I'm really good at X, Y, and Z, but I know deep down that I don't do that.
Yeah,
so
like
true.
one of mine, and I will when we talk about our results, but one of mine, it's like, I always go out of my way to help others. And you have to then say whether it's very like you, and then you go down the scale to very unlike me. And I kind of was having to really think, do I? Do I actually really? Care? I was like, yes, I am very helpful. I want to help others. And then I was like, what happens in reality? In reality, I'm like, I haven't got time for somebody else's shit right now.
I'm a busy woman. I enjoyed it, though. I realised I love filling out questionnaires about myself. It's one of my favourite things to do. So I was like, oh, yes, this is great.
This is
so
very
much fun.
like me. So go on then.
Okay. Shall I give you my top 5 and then my bottom 5?
Yes, so the results you get is 24 strengths listed in order of, strongest to weakest.
1 to 24.
Okay, how did you go?
Let's be interesting to see if we've got any overlap here as well. So my number 1 strength was, drumroll please, appreciation of beauty and excellence. Which I thought was really nice. Noticing and appreciating beauty, excellent and or skill performance in various domains of life, from nature to art to mathematics to science to everyday experience. And actually that didn't surprise me, because I do spend a lot of time walking down the street going, that tree is so beautiful. Look at the tiny flower growing through the crack in the wall. Isn't nature incredible? I do that a lot. Not so much mathematics, but, we'll skim over that
bit.
That is
so nice that that's your number 1. That was my number 6, by the way.
That was your number 6, was it? Number 2 was perspective, being able to provide wise counsel to others, having ways of looking at the world that make sense to oneself and others.
That's my number 1.
Now, this is funny.
So that's your number 2.
Is that your number
we
1?
are close.
Yeah. Number 3 was gratitude. We obviously talk about that a lot on this show. Number 4 was...
Oh, that was my number 5.
Oh, was it? Number 4 was love. And
really?
Yeah.
Well, that's my number 7.
Valuing close relations with others, in particular those in which sharing and caring are reciprocated. And number 5 was curiosity, taking an interest in ongoing experience for its own sake, finding subjects and topics fascinating, exploring and discovering.
Hey, very
so
well.
Those
You
are my
are
top
a learner,
5.
aren't you? You do like to learn.
I like to learn. I like to feel like I'm ever evolving.
Yes.
What were your top 5?
Curiosity was right down in 12. I'm a bit disappointed about that, to be honest. Okay, so number 1 was perspective, as you've already described. Number 2, social intelligence.
Oh, I like that.
Being aware of the motives, feelings of others and oneself, knowing what to do to fit into different social situations. I think I do. I'm a bit of a chameleon.
Interesting.
I'm like the dad that when the painter decorator turns up, I'm like, all right, mate. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love your ladder. And literally down the shop as well, I will put on a Welsh accent when I'm speaking to people. It's totally unconscious.
You're like putty. I mean, I'm laughing, but that was my number 6.
Okay, you're very close behind. And that is all about knowing what makes other people tick. Number 3 was honesty, courage, speaking the truth, but more broadly presenting oneself in a genuine way and acting in a sincere way. I am quite honest to a fault, actually.
Are you?
Yeah. If you've got a friend who is a bit of a nightmare and everybody talks about them being a bit of a nightmare, I'm the one that will tell them.
Here, you're a bit of a nightmare.
Go, have you considered getting therapy? And then they're like, well, you're such an asshole. I'm like, no, I'm just the only one who wanted to tell you. Humour, liking to laugh and tease, bringing smiles to other people, seeing the light side, making, but not necessarily telling, jokes.
Ha ha!
Hey, that's me all day long.
Excellent.
And number 5, gratitude. So did they all resonate for you?
So yes, they did all resonate, but let's skim over the rest of the ones on the list. I just want to know, what was your number 24, bottom of the list?
Let's go bottom of the pile. Okay. And number 24, self-regulation. Regulating what one feels and does, being disciplined, controlling one's appetites and emotions. No control here.
That's hilarious, because my number 24 was also self-regulation. I'm too busy wandering around marvelling at how beautiful nature is. I can't actually make
get
myself
shit done.
bloody well do anything.
Now, the tricky thing I thought was how to then apply that to your life. Like, okay, we now know our strengths. Now, she did say that you don't need to buy a report, but I did anyway, because I thought, well, it's all very well knowing how honest and funny and grateful I am, but what do I do with that information? So I paid £15 for your top 5 report, and it gives advice such as, so for perspective, for a challenging project, go outside your usual circle of advisors and seek the advice of someone new who has experience in that area. Social intelligence, explore with someone close to you what they most appreciate about the way you interact with them. How can you use what you learn to be even more sensitive to others? This one made me laugh. Humour. Keep a humour diary at work and write down 3 funny things each day. Consider sharing some of the funny stories you notice with colleagues.
That would just be brilliant. I feel like you've got the basis of a sitcom or a comedy sketch right there. No one wants to be that person in the office who whips out their humour book. Who does?
Excuse me, Kate. Can I read you something from my humour diary? From some situational comedy I noticed this morning. So, yeah, I mean, how did you go? Did you manage to apply this knowledge to anything?
Knew that those would be my strengths before I started. And we were saying this before, weren't we? Did you read this somewhere? That actually your own strengths, you don't always see as strengths because they come so normally and so easily to you that you don't necessarily see them as something that's a strength. You just see it as, well, that's just normal. And you assume that isn't everybody like that? You'd always assume that what you do, everyone else must do. What you find easy, everyone else must find easy. So you don't always give it value.
Yes. And if it's something that you just kind of naturally do all the time or are drawn to, you might not realise that it is actually a strength of yours.
Yeah.
So what you can do is use character strengths to improve your life. They say your character strengths are key elements to living an authentic, meaningful life. Research shows that people who use their strengths a lot are 18 times more likely to be flourishing than those who do not. Knowing and using your character strengths can help you be happier and more confident, strengthen relationships, accomplish goals, manage problems and stress.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So we shouldn't just be like, well, those are our strengths. What are my weaknesses? Let's focus on making my weaknesses better. We should actually focus on those strengths and look to use them more.
Use them with your problems, use them to be more productive at work, use them within your daily routines over and over again. And research has found that if you use your signature strengths in new ways each day, you can experience a long-term boost to happiness. And studies show it decreases depression too.
Ah, okay. So there's a lot of power in this.
Yeah, so I guess number 1 is just being aware of them, right?
Yeah, just knowing them in itself is really beneficial to us.
Yes, or potentially beneficial.
True.
Because now obviously Bex has told us to now apply this to our lives.
Yes.
I'm going to put my hand straight up to say combination of not having much time, but also I mean, and also finding it just slightly hard to get my head around.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I've been able to quite apply it to my life yet, Kate. Have you?
Well, I'm like you in that I was surprised that I found it challenging. I think it's because for me, my top 5, they're very, I want to say the word visceral. Do I mean visceral?
I don't know, but I like that word. And
I do as well.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay, let's go with that. But love, gratitude, appreciating beauty, they're not things that I really straight off knew what to do with other than be aware of them. But I guess the point is that leaning into these strengths make us feel good. So knowing that it makes me feel good to do my gratitude or to go out and put myself in a situation where I feel like I'm appreciating the beauty around me, whether that's in a garden or in an art gallery, that gives me a mood boost.
Yeah.
I nearly said a boob boost then. I don't think any of them are going to give me a boob boost.
No matter how much you try.
No matter how grateful I am. These
Otherwise
beauties
you'd be doing them every day. Yes, because that's exactly what she said, wasn't it? That when she's in a funk or she's starting to feel those symptoms build up, she goes to a top 5. She's like, right, what can I do? And one of her things is learning. So she'll apply that because she knows that that's something that she can do to make herself feel good. And I guess, yes, you're right, because I had the same with my top 5. It's like, perspective, gratitude, honesty. How do I now apply this?
Yeah.
But what I found actually, like you were saying about it's their strengths, but we don't necessarily see them as strengths, or we think that other people have them. Or in my case, I actually thought my kind of ability to be a chameleon and my ability to laugh in every situation, I thought that was a negative.
That's really interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I thought, I don't take things seriously, or I shouldn't be laughing in this work call, or being frivolous, or, flippant in a work email, And then I thought, actually, to have it painted as a strength, it's kind of giving me license to celebrate those parts of myself.
Yes. Which is massive, actually, rather than beat yourself up for them. So that's a full 180 swing that you've done there.
Yeah. And also because when it's giving you the explanations, it tells you what an impact that has on other people and how other people then see that.
Yes.
And I was at a funeral at the weekend, and it was a sad day, and I was stood with this guy, and it was a particular sad moment. He cracked this joke. And it really, I'm still thinking about it days later. It was such a perfectly timed moment, and it really lifted the spirits, and that is a talent, and that is something that can make it makes us all feel good.
Definitely. So I was going to ask you the same question, but it sounds like you're still at that point of sort of processing it.
Yeah, for me, I think I have been maybe just looking at how I bring these things into my life and into my relationships, and realising that, yes, they are key. I mean, obviously, gratitude I bang on and on about all the time. But actually, when I was a manager, I instilled it in my team. Like when we had team meetings, at the end of every team meeting, I made us all talk about our golden nugget from the week, which I'm sure everybody really appreciated. But I think it was just it brought levity, and it brought kind of a positive twist, no matter what we'd been talking about during the meeting. And and it's interesting to see how those things can apply to work, that make you good leaders, or that make you good team members, or as well as just making you feel good.
So normally we would ask each other, will you do this again? That doesn't quite work with this, because I think the quiz is a one-off. It's not something you just keep repeating in the hope that you get different results.
Although you do love a survey.
I do love a survey. But maybe a better way of looking at it is, will you use the results of these in the future to try and make yourself feel good? Is this something you're going to refer back to?
Yes, I think it kind of gives you permission to prioritise these strengths. And that's what I like about it. And I really like that it's highlighted some strengths which previously I kind of thought were negatives. So now I'm going to let them fully grow. I'm going to embrace them, celebrate them. And and I like the idea of trying to kind of use them in new ways. So I'm going to look into that. Don't know what that means yet, but I will have a go.
Yeah. And it's not a finite thing, isn't it? You don't get to the end and be like, right, done that, perfected those skills. This is something that's going to, for the rest of our lives, really, you sort of keep working on these things and looking at them and thinking about them. And
and then they become a super strength, superpower. So anyway, Kate, what about you?
Well, I think what I'm going to do, and I've said this on a few episodes, I'm going to print them out and put them next to my desk. There's a growing wallpaper of positive things, just to keep them front of mind, just so I remember them. And in those moments when I feel like I need a boost, that might be helpful. And also, I guess, and this is going back to what Bex says, that maybe they're helpful when you're at a point in your life where you feel like something's got to change, something's got to shake up.
Yes.
And these might be a good starting point to generate that change, to think about where you can maybe make change, in which direction you make that change.
Yeah. Go and look at the flowers coming up through the cracks in the pavement. Find the beauty in life.
I'm going to be that crazy woman when I'm older, aren't I? Who's just staring at a brick wall going, "Oh, it's lovely.
Look at the ivy." You're an inspiration to us all, Kate.
Finally, the words I've been wanting to hear. Thank you for listening to Write Up My Podcast, and you can contact us at our email, which is writeupmypodcast@gmail.com, or come on over to Instagram and Twitter, where you can find us at Write Up My. We always love hearing from you, and we'll always try and reply if you do get in touch.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow wherever you listen, please. And if you have an iProduct, we'd be super, super grateful if you would go over to Apple Podcasts and give us a rating and a review, please. Thank you. Oh, and don't forget to share with your friends.
And head on down to Patreon, where you can join the Rump Club, which will give you access to exclusive content with Gwen and I. That's at patreon.com/writeupmypodcast.
And shout out to all the Rump Club members. You are awesome, growing every week. We love having you in the gang.
And thank you to the team who help us put our episodes together.
That is Andy G, who does our awesome music, and Erica Francis George, really talented artist who lends us her craft by hand cutting all of our artwork. Thank you, you amazing people.
We'll be back in a couple of weeks with our next episode, where we'll be talking all about climate optimism. I hear you think, optimism? What is this optimism?
Is it possible?
Of which you speak.
It is.
But in the meantime, keep trying things
to make you feel good. Bye-bye.
Tell me, did you like the podcast, Brian?
No!
Oh.
If, unlike Brian, you thought our podcast was really great, then don't hold back. Like, subscribe, and tell your mate. But if, like Brian, you thought our podcast wasn't fun, then just keep quiet. Don't feel the need to tell anyone. We'd love to hear from you if you've got some thoughts to share. Such rich and lovely views that all should be aware of. But I hope you liked our podcast and you thought it was really great. And if you did, like, subscribe, and tell your mate. 'Cause we don't need grumpy pants bringing everybody down. No, we don't need negative Nellies making people frown. No. So I hope you liked our podcast and you thought it was really great. And if you did, like, subscribe, and tell your mate.